I actually have all my teeth. So, right. Hello, everybody. Oh, we've already started laughing. Good evening, everybody. Yes, welcome to Cracking Up. And yes, why is it called Cracking Up? We're spelling it K-R-A-K-I-N-G, cracking, K and K and R-A. This is how we get the cracking up bit. Anyway, we don't know if you've ever watched us before. We are the three old British ladies who have already been laughing. Unfortunately, what we've been laughing at is we can't
Oh, go on.
we can't share it.
I think you
We
should.
really can't share it. Although as the show continues, we might be able to share it. We were talking before we came on air about trying something new, because on Thursday morning on our show, The Spirit World Sees All, we were actually talking about trying something new. And because this week in our Angels in Training book, for those of you who are following that and working through it, it is the week where we have to try something new and discover something new and all the rest of it. Before we get into the show, let me just first say we have Chris in the background doing all the technical stuff. It looks like she's doing a really great job. Say hi, Chris.
Hello, Rosemary K and K.
Hi,
Right.
friends.
And
Hi.
of course, we also have our lovely grey eagle, who probably has left us right now because we've been laughing at rude things before the show. No, he's not really left us. He's right here with us. And anyway, and so we have KW. Say hi, KW.
Hello, hello.
And we have Chaotic. Say hi, Chaotic.
Hi, everybody.
And of course, it's me. Yes, you know who I am. I don't need to introduce myself to anybody. Okay, so our subject today, unless it changes, our subject today is friendship. You can see we three are we friends, girls?
Yes.
Have we been
Yes,
friends for a long time?
we have.
Yes.
Okay. So we three old ladies were friends when we weren't old ladies at all. We were friends from a long time ago. So how, KW, this I'm gonna, oh gosh. Anyway, K, how long have we known each other? I know we've talked about this before on a chaotic show, but how on the cracking up show, sorry, how long have we known each other?
I came to see you in 1982 for the first time.
So that is 44 years ago. No, whatever it is. Anyway, over 40 years ago. We known
Yeah.
each other that long. We must have.
It's 40 years this year, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It is. It's
Because
exactly.
that's when.
This summer, this
Yeah.
June.
This
40
what?
year. This
This
June.
June.
This June. Wow. So, and hey, how long have we known each other?
Since 1988.
Gosh.
So that's 24 years then,
Yes.
right?
34.
So
34. Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
34 years and 40 years. Goodness
Yeah.
me. I didn't think we were that old. I must be older than
I'm
I
not. I'm
thought
not.
I was. Anyway, I'm not sticking to it, that's for sure. For those of you who are wondering, what am I watching and what is this crazy person talking about? There is a chat room, and you can go into the chat room and you can make comments, you can ask us questions, you can do whatever you like, actually. But please use the chat room, because we love to have comments, questions, and you can ask a question of me, or you can ask a question of either of the K's. Just we're going to see how long this show lasts. It's going to last for as long as we find things to talk about, right? So I thought it might be good, because we're all friends, you know, through our lives, let's say 30, 34 and 40 years, it's a long time to know each other.
Yeah.
And we've all heard the old adage, you know, you find out who your friends are when things go wrong. Now, Kay, your dad, what did he used to say about money in your pocket, friendship and money in your pocket? What did he used to say?
He used to say the best friend you have is the money in your pocket. And when that's gone, you find out who your real friends are.
Right. So we thought we'd talk a little bit around that, and also maybe sort of I thought we might also talk about the fact that changing the way we think, changing the way we think about friends, changing the way we think about friendship, changing the way we think about relationships, perhaps, or just changing the way we approach things in our lives. I thought we'd talk about that a little bit as well. So, okay, so I have been very disappointed from time to time in friendships, because you really believe, you know, you get a group of friends around you, you really, you know, you tell each other secrets. We girls tell each other secrets all the time, don't we? We talk about things, we open up to our girlfriend, and we have this impression, especially when we're younger perhaps, but we have the impression that, you know, we never think that they're not going to be friends. And it's when then, you know, all of a sudden something happens, and the people that you most think are going to stand by you are often the ones who disappoint you. I can remember there was a time when I had a lot of money stolen, and I had two friends uh, in different countries, actually. I had two friends, and so the one friend called me just after I'd found out about all of this, and obviously I was extremely upset. And I was telling this friend what had happened, this person what had happened, and you know, that all of this money was gone, and you know, I didn't know quite what I was going to do, and so on. And the very first thing she said to me was, well, don't come to me. Don't, you know, don't look at me. Don't come to me.
Oh.
And this was a very good and a very, I thought, a really good and a really close friend. And it so shocked me, because I wasn't looking for a handout. I wasn't looking to see if she could help. I was just really devastated about what had happened. So it was, don't come to me. And it shocked me completely. You know, I can't help you. We've just had this to do and that to do and so on. And it just, it became all, the whole thing became all about her. And the very next day, that was on a Saturday. The very next day was a Sunday, and I had another friend call me, and he and I had been friends for a long time. He said to me, I just had this feeling. Are you okay? I had a feeling needed to talk to you, need to call you. Is everything okay? And by this time, things were sinking in, and I was very emotional, trying not to burst into tears. I told him what had happened. And the very first thing he said to me was, what can I do? And he actually became my salvation in that situation. But it's not about whether somebody can, you know, if you've lost something, they can give it back to you, or if, you know, it's not necessarily that when you're talking to your friends, it's not necessarily that they can help you or solve a situation that you're in. It's about, what can I do? How can I support you? You need me to come? Can I be there for you? What can I do? And the difference between these two friends, one is still obviously a very, very good very close friend, and the other one I rarely hear from anymore because, in fact, I really hardly hear from anymore because it turned out that that person wasn't a friend. That doesn't mean that that person isn't a nice person. It's just that different people have different ways of thinking about things, and different people have a different idea of what friendships are. So I'm going to ask each of you, have you been disappointed with a friend? Would you like to tell us about it? And if it's me, and if you've been disappointed in me, go for it. I'm a big girl. I might cry, but you know what I'm saying. Don't. That. In what way were you disappointed? If you have been disappointed, and what would you say? Well, let's do that first, and then let's go for the next bit.
You go first, Kay.
I had a friend who I'd known for quite some time, and my brother had some tickets he worked for a company in Nottingham, and they used to have a big do every year at one of these ballroom places in Nottingham, and he'd bought tickets, but
So,
in the end he wasn't.
Hold on 1 second. Nottingham is a big city in England, just for
Yeah.
those of you who know. So go ahead.
Torval-in-Dean, that's what.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he said, "Do I want these tickets?" So I asked my friend, and she said, "Oh yes, we'll go." And when we got to the door, I gave her ticket to go in, and I took the ticket in, thought no more about it, and then towards the end, they said, "We're having a raffle." So they pulled this raffle, and both of us said, "Oh no, nothing." And then, because the person who had won it had obviously left, they pulled it again, and her ticket came up. This ticket that I'd given her came up, and it was for a stereo player. I didn't have one. She already had. So she won this stereo player, and I said, "Fancy you getting this stereo player? You've already got one." And she said, "I'll sell it to you." My brother had bought the tickets. I'd given her the ticket.
Oh, golly.
And that's when I thought, no,
Oh.
you're not a friend. Not a friend.
Not a friend.
Oh.
You would have thought she would have automatically, whether you had a stereo or not, you would have thought she would have said, "Look, the ticket really is yours. You have it."
But then again, I should have said that, shouldn't I, as well? I should have said, "Well, actually, my brother bought those. That's his. Even if I didn't say it was mine, that belongs to my brother." But I was so shocked by it because it was something I would never have done.
No. Some people
Now-
are always on the
Now,
tape.
here you see that the three of us, we all have the same reaction because we all would have done what I consider to be the right
The
thing.
right thing. Yeah.
However, there are people listening who might be thinking, "Well, what's wrong with that?" So let's see what comments
Yeah.
we get in on that one. I'm
Yeah,
interested
let's hope so.
to see
Yeah.
that. Kay, what about you?
I'm thinking, and I don't know whether I'm just ordinarily cynical. I don't really think I ever was very surprised at how suddenly people disappear. And through having lived with a large family in a small village, surrounded by family, and then getting a divorce and staying in the village, which was quite awkward for a while because it was a farming village with farming divorce. It's tricky. And not only did friends not come round, which I sort of wasn't surprised, but family sort of stopped coming round as well.
Oh, really?
And because they felt awkward, which I understood, so benefit of the doubt. And then what really got me was not when I got divorced and I suddenly was persona non grata. no invitations anywhere. So I sort of understood that and wasn't too worried about it. But when I then moved house into a less salubrious area and didn't have the garden, didn't have the means or the money, and didn't have the kitchen, the facilities, or the dining room to entertain people all day, every day for weeks on end, which I used to do with lots of children, there's suddenly it's like, ooh, it's quiet. I wonder where everybody is.
They're at
But
somebody else's nice big house with a nice big kitchen.
yes, that's right. That's right.
with children.
I don't feel sad or worried about it. I'm not at all surprised by it. And I'm not even lonely or unhappy about it. I just think, there you go.
Well,
Go for
you've
it.
been lonely because you had me at the
That's
time.
right. That's right.
So,
That's right. That's right. And you only need one person in your life to make it right.
yeah. So, okay. So what do you girls think about the idea? You know, people say if you can count your friends on the fingers of one hand,
Yeah.
you're really lucky, right? You're really very lucky. I have to say that that does not apply to me because I have friends who are actually and have proved themselves again and again to be true friends,
Hmm.
to be really, really, you know, sort of in the trenches with me, willing to be in
Yeah.
the trenches with me. So, you know, I've got friends on this hand and I've got friends on this hand and maybe even one or two more. So I feel very blessed that I've got true friends that I can go to and rely on. Weirdly, I'm going to say that my best friend is probably at this moment in time, weirdly, my grandson.
Yes, I
And
get that.
and then the second next, of course, is my daughter, and then of course, you know, you guys are you're on the one hand, you're in that one hand, but
Yes. Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
I
feel
do. Yeah.
fortunate that I've got those really, really good friends, and
Yes.
you know, and that I can share with those friends. And it's weird to say that my 9-year-old grandson is
It's
probably
not.
the
No.
ultimate best friend. But it really is true because he tells me things and I
Yeah.
tell him things and we share. And when he's upset, you know, I'm there for him. And when he thinks I'm upset, when I call him sometimes, he'll say, Mosey, are you crying? Your eyes
Oh.
are very shiny. Are you
Oh.
sure you're okay? And he's concerned for me. So, you know, but I think that I'd rather have very few friends and be happy with those few than bemoan the fact that I don't have lots of people to invite to dinner or a
That's
party.
right.
Whatever.
Yeah. That's
What do
how I
you
feel.
what do you girls think? Okay, who is your closest friend?
Mine.
Say me. Say me.
In England,
That's a
in
strange
England,
woman in
it would
America.
be.
No,
I suppose Kath I see most of here.
she was a neighbour, wasn't she?
She was, yeah. Because we both moved in at the same time, and I'd just divorced, and she just separated from her husband, so we shared
Common.
a sort of that in common. Although I was happy about me, but she wasn't so happy about the situation for herself. So, yeah.
And you still see her all these years later.
Yeah, I
You
still
you,
see
re,
her a lot.
you remain friends. Hey,
Yeah.
what about you?
My obviously you and Kay, because I'm a solitary person. I'm quite antisocial actually, and I'm lazy. So I think,
You
and I
pay,
like,
bro.
yeah, I like my own company. I become a hermit if I'm not careful. But I think the most contact I have, apart from you two, is my 3 girls and my grandson. And yeah, I think that's probably about it.
And your girls, they are each other's best friends, I think.
Yes,
Fair
yes,
to
they're
say.
pretty
I have
close.
to say I've never seen a mother the way that I used to watch you with your girls. You were amazing with your girls because you always
It's all gone downhill.
you always brought them together. I don't believe
Yeah.
that. But yeah, and I think it's important. It's you know, it's good to know that you
Yeah.
have a friendship with your kids as
Yeah.
well.
It
What
is
do
good.
you think? I'm going to ask. I have my point of view, and I want. So I'll ask both of you first, and then we'll go to Chris. And I don't know if anybody's watching or if anybody's in the chat room yet. But just heads up, if anybody's watching, now's the time to put anything in the chat room, because in a few minutes we're going to go to the chat room to see what you all have to say. But so, what do you think is one of the most important things that can keep a friendship together? I mean, and friendship can be something you've not seen each other for 10 years or even 20 years, but when you come together, there's this real coming together, and it's like you've
Never been apart.
you've never been apart. Or friends can be those people who talk on a regular basis, or whatever you perceive as good friends or good friendship. What do you think the ingredients would be for to not only to form a friendship but to keep a friendship going? I mean, 40 years and 34 years, that's a long time for us to keep going as friends, and we are, I would say, close friends. I mean, if you guys need anything, you call me, and if I need anything, I call you. I mean, you know, there's a great, I think there's a great dynamic between us.
Yeah.
What what would you say would be some important aspects of not only finding a friend but keeping a friend, or holding on to that relationship?
You first, Kay.
I think there has to be give and take anyway. I think in any relationship, there has to be a certain amount of give and take and compromise. I think you just have to have the same sort of sense of humour. The outlook's very similar. You know, you look at the world in the same way. I think that helps. I don't know, because sometimes you can have friends that you're very close to, but they can be very different. And it's sometimes very hard to pinpoint why that works sometimes. Yeah.
What do you
But I
think?
think with friendship, a lot depends on, I mean, I've had friends who I've had to come to terms with their personalities, but that was a shortcoming on my side sometimes, because it's how you react to things which can be as big a problem as somebody else. So you have to learn to understand somebody and say, well, they do that because that they're doing that because that actually.
So it's about giving the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, absolutely.
If you like someone enough,
and acceptance.
Forget
Just
it.
acceptance.
If you like someone enough, you'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, it's also like I'm thinking of a particular friend who, she's very, very family orientated, and that sometimes comes first. So you think I'm taking a back seat, but at the same time, that's what makes her happy. So you know, that's good. You have to think, well, that's good, really.
Yeah, but that's about acceptance, isn't it?
That's right. I'm saying it's how I viewed it, and when I viewed it differently, I understood it better. Yeah.
Hey, what do you think?
You took the benefit of the doubt straight away, and that was one of the big ones, and also acceptance, and that's with any relationship, isn't it? Learning to know somebody and accept them for who they are, and not expect them to change because you don't understand or can't comprehend.
Right.
So that's a level of trust that you have to then lay out there as a given. And so there's decisions made, because if you love somebody enough to be a good friend, which we do, and you don't understand something, you either find out, sort it out, and then come to terms with it, or you just accept it and move with it and see what happens, knowing that things will become clearer as you go on through the relationship, which often I think between all of us they have done.
Yeah.
I think there have been things that I haven't understood about Kay and she about me, because we're completely different soul signs. And so, and that's been a huge thing for me in developing all relationships. The book that you wrote, Soul Signs, has been extraordinary book of understanding how we all function and how we all act and what we need from the world. Also, so trust, acceptance, benefit of the doubt, I think, are the most.
Respect, I think, is very
Respect.
important.
Yes.
To respect
Yes.
not just friends, but to respect people generally,
Yes.
giving the benefit of the doubt and respecting that we're all different
Yes.
I think is really, it's
Yeah.
really very important. I think when we're talking about soul signs and we're talking about different types of energy, soul signs, once you learn about soul signs, once you understand what's going on with soul signs, I think it's absolutely great, because you start to understand that you know, when we meet people, we get to know people a little bit, one of the things we all do is say, I wonder why does she act like that, or, you know, can't she be a bit more sane or sensible, or, you know, she's a bit crazy or whatever. But when you read soul signs and you read about energies, you understand that actually there are certain things that we all do that we just can't help, because our energy drives us to do these things or to be that kind of person. And when you start to realize, you know, she just can't help it, or he just can't help it, and you really understand they can't help it because that's their energy that's driving them forward, it's easier to then give the benefit of the doubt, because hey, that's she's a water sign. She's going to take ages and ages to decide on what color scheme she wants for the house. You know, oh my God, can't she just hurry up and make up her mind? Well, no, because she's a water sign, so she's got to go back and forth and figure it out. Whereas I'm an earth sign and I know exactly what I want. I'm going to go in there and I've already got it in my head what it is I want.
It's a plan.
Yeah, it's a plan. So understanding, and fire signs, you know, we've got here, I'm an earth sign, Kay, you're a water sign. We got K, the other K is a fire sign. We should be really sort of fighting amongst ourselves a little bit, but we're not, because we all understand. You know, I mean, Kay, you're a fire sign, but you're fantastic in so many ways because you're so creative, and all of that craziness that fire signs often have, because, you know, they're likely to burn the house down if we're not very careful. They can get so emotional and so, you know, hyper sometimes. But when we say, hold on a minute, she's a fire sign, that's how she's going to react, we are far more accepting of that kind of behavior. And I'm sure you think, oh, you know, why does she have to make a plan all the time? Can't we just sort of go nice and easy? Can't we just flow along or float along? Because I'm an earth sign, I've got to have a plan. Even if the plan is to do nothing at all, I've got to have a plan because I'm an earth sign. So, you know, so it's all about energy as well. But I think that, you know, it's really, once you start to understand that different people have different types of energy that drive them and create certain behaviors, once you understand that it's inborn, you can't help the energy that you are. You can't help how your soul was created, the type of energy that your soul was created from. So, you know, I think it makes us much more forgiving. I'm not sure. No, I'm not really, don't want the word forgiving, but
understanding of people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's. All right,
It's a great bit.
we've beaten this friendship bit to death, because I'd like to talk in a few minutes about changing the way that we think. And even though it's beyond topic, it's actually all part of this topic, I think, because, you know, we so often we expect other people to change.
Yes.
And I'm going to give an example in a minute of a couple that I recently spoke with, but it happens all the time. And we'll talk about that in a minute, and how just changing your mentality, just changing the way you view at something can make you either more miserable or happier than you've ever been in your life. So, Chris, do we have anybody listening, or are we just chatting to ourselves? I'm happy if we just chat.
Oh, no, you have a lot of people listening. The first question that came in was from Judith. She's wondering, have KW or chaotic, have you been to the States and how often do you come? And part 2, do you feel as though Rosemary has changed since she's lived in America?
Oh. All right. So have you been to America, either of you? How often do you come?
Yes, I have been to America. I'm just trying to think how many times I've been. I've probably been about half a dozen or so.
Yeah.
Maybe. At least,
Same
I would
here.
think. Yeah.
Same here.
At least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the States other than to come and see me?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Yeah.
Well, you
No.
know that I did.
Yes.
And then I got myself into trouble with university and did a runner and ran up to Vermont to see you at the weekend.
Yeah. You were supposed to.
Got balled out at the airport.
Basically, you were supposed to be in New York, and you were staying at
The
the
YMCA.
YMCA. Gosh,
Yeah.
so long ago.
God, yeah.
Yeah, she was staying at the YMCA in New York, and the next thing, you were on my doorstep. I was in Vermont at the time. You were on my doorstep. I don't think you.
I got Amtrak up. Got the Amtrak up for the weekend.
Typical fireside, right?
I'd asked my tutor, I've told her, I said, I won't be with you for the weekend. I'm going to Vermont. She said, you can't. We're not insured. I said, I'm a grown up. I can do what I want. and I was 30 years older than most of them. So I got Amtrak up and then went back and joined them at the airport, and nobody spoke to me all the way.
Yeah, because not only did you not spend the weekend with them, I think they were there for a few more days, and you just stayed with me.
Yes.
Aside from that, how many times have you been to a few?
It must be at least a dozen.
Right.
I guess.
Oh, to see me.
Yes.
Yay. I feel so loved at the moment. All right. Be as brutal as you want to be. Answer Judith's next question. By all means, you say anything you like. No, I don't. It doesn't matter to me. Do you think, either of you, Kay, I've known you for 40 years. Kay, I've known you for 34 years. That's a long time to know somebody. Now, I have to say, before you answer this question, I have to say that we all, we all get older, and we all change some way or another.
Yeah.
Although I don't actually personally. No, I won't say anything.
Don't say anything, because you will influence
I
it.
don't want to influence you. So you say honestly and truthfully, you guys.
Go first, chaotic.
She's always put me first, isn't she?
Yes, I am. Gives me time to think.
She's put you in the hot seat first, is what she's doing.
No, I'm happy to carry on, but I'm always jumping in.
No, I don't know really, because I think sometimes you know people over a long period of time, and you don't always see that it's a gradual thing, isn't it? People change.
Yeah.
So I haven't I can't say that there's been something that stuck out to me as being very, very different to how you were
No.
normally. I mean, you change over time, everybody does, but I don't see anything as a standout difference.
I've not become snootier or snobbier since I've become famous.
Good God, no.
Well, you still speak to me, so you can't be, can you?
So, Kay, what do you think?
I've come from it from a slightly different angle because I've known Rosemary as a pupil and a student. Now, I
Go ahead.
don't think she's changed at all in herself. I said, oh, we're talking about you in the third person here. I don't think you've changed at all in yourself, Rosemary. I think you are exactly the same person that I met in Epworth in 1982. That's it. Except that when I see how you've developed as a teacher and as a medium, and how you've changed your methods and your teaching methods with your students in other areas other than the UK, that was mind-blowing for me when I first came to Vermont.
Well, why would that be? What was it that blew your mind? I know exactly where we're going with this, but what was it that blew your mind?
I could not come to terms with what I perceived to be a lack of formality and respect in the class that I was witnessing.
Right.
Because you had a lot of demanding students who were questioning and daring to question the methods that you were giving them. And I think we had our say.
It didn't last very long, just saying. I think if I can take an explanation, because Kay, as a student, when you were a student in England, I was, and I'm still a tough teacher.
Yeah.
But
there's tough and tough.
There's tough, and then there's not nearly as tough.
Yes.
And,
yes.
I know that when the students from England would come over to visit and sit in on the classes, I know that they would look at me as if to say, "Who are you?
Who are you? Where's Rosemary gone?
Why? You know, why is that student still sitting in your house? Why didn't you kick them out?"
Yes. Yeah.
But it's not just that.
I understand it now.
But I think that there's a big difference also in in culture.
Yeah.
And so you have to adapt.
Yes.
The way of teaching. That doesn't mean it's not just as tough. Chris,
no.
You might want to come here and say something, because Chris is a student as well. And I'm sure that, well, I won't put words in Chris's mouth, but we'll ask Chris how tough she thinks I am as a teacher. But I just want to say, in relation to all of this, we love this question. Thank you, Judith. I think that, as Chaotic said, I think we all change over time anyway. We become more mature. In some areas, we soften our view of things, and in other areas, we become more entrenched in our views. So we all have that changing going on. But I think I'm just the same as I used to be, because that's who I am, feet on the ground, very direct.
No, you haven't changed as a person at all. You're the same person.
So, and I don't think either of you have changed. That you're still, I mean, I look at you girls and I just think you're just who I was when I met you and we became friendly.
Yeah. Had some fun, didn't we? We did have some fun.
Yeah.
We did.
So Chris, let's hear what you think briefly, because it doesn't need to be about me. But speaking to Kay's idea that I wasn't as tough a teacher, you might have a comment on that, and then let's go to other comments in the chat room.
What comes to mind, and I'll say it in two different ways. Like, I really enjoy looking back to, say, your Oprah Winfrey interview or your Lisa Gibbon interviews, which are on your website, and look at you and how stunningly beautiful you were,
Oh,
and how you had to maneuver
Yeah.
and say what you needed to say succinctly for an audience that perhaps didn't believe. But when you go back and you look at all these videos, there is a sense of steel, is the only
Yeah.
way that I can describe it, at
Mm.
your core. And that sense of steel stays with you even today. But I would say, because I've only known you for 22 years, I see the compassion and the gentleness come out more so now than when I took lessons back 22 years ago. And I think that has to do with what you said, the difference between the British culture and the American culture. And you were trying to figure out the American culture when you
Yes.
came here.
Yes. I get that now. I understand that now. Mm.
Yeah, but I think you can be a very tough teacher. And I certainly was a very tough teacher in England. But those of my students who came with me every time we went to visit a patient, every time we went to a hospital, every time we were called out in the middle of the night because somebody was dying or somebody was about to lose a baby. I don't know if you remember that one, Kay. And we were there until sort of 5 a.m. at the hospital. There's no doubt of the compassion that all of us as healers, that all of us had. There's no doubt that you could, yes, I might have a backbone of steel. I might be that person who is tough, and I am definitely. I come from a tough family, but that does not negate the fact that compassion and gentleness are very much a part of that same nature. I think it's fair to say, right?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I would also add, you have learned over the years. For instance, you did not have the science of soul signs back when you were teaching K.
No.
And so you know even more about people now than you did then.
I do.
Which also makes you able to be more
Yes.
gentle, kind, and compassionate. Not that you weren't before, but it's a different
Certainly was.
layer. It's a different level.
It is. And you get,
Yes.
as we just said earlier, you become more mature and you learn more things and you apply the things that you, if you're lucky, if you're sensible, you apply the things that you learn, and they make you stronger and they make you gentler at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's looking back now, and I realize now how, looking at how you've developed over the years and in your teaching, I remember coming home one night, and I think I spoke to Robert at the time and said, I don't know how, this was my ex-husband, and I said to him, I actually don't know how Rosemary can deal with all of us and put up with it, because I know this sounds awful, sounds as if I'm like being fawning, but I'm not. It was an absolute observation that your mind was working on the level of such a higher of a rate that we didn't understand, and we didn't understand where you were working from and going to with it. But I couldn't quite grasp that you weren't bored out of your skull at the time trying to drill into the slow students how to open up ourselves, or to do all the things we were doing, when it came such second nature to you, and that must have been a difficult thing and frustrating.
It wasn't so much difficult. We're going to ignore the phone in the background there. It wasn't so much that it was difficult. It was you know, it did require a lot of patience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, forget. God. Anyway, it's not great. This,
Yeah.
yes, this is really my natural colour, as it is for you, isn't it, my lovely chaotic? Right.
Yeah.
Let's hear more from our chat room.
So in the chat room, people have spoken about some of their experiences. Rhonda's saying, the most surprising thing a friend did for me recently is surprised me with 2 kitties that she had her daughter knit for me. They are adorable. And that same friend surprised me by coming to the hospital this week when I was in for an overnight stay just to make sure I was okay. She's a wonderful friend.
Nice, very nice.
So
That's nice.
how about the 3 of you? What's the best thing any of your friends have ever done for you? Something that maybe was surprising.
Ooh.
Well, let's be very quick with this then, because I do want to go into something else about changing attitudes, because I think it will be very helpful for people. So what is the best, is she asking what is the best thing that each of us have ever done for the other, or what is the best thing a friend has done for us?
A friend has done for you.
Okay, very quick then.
Oh gosh, I'm stuck at the moment trying to think of something. Not that people haven't done nice things. It's just, it's not coming to me at the moment. I'll have a think.
I was once given a brand new car with a big red ribbon around it.
Oh my golly. Why was that? Well, your other car was really
Crap.
crappy, falling to pieces.
Yeah. It took me a while to get over.
Did a friend give you that car?
Yeah. It took me a while to forgive her.
Forgive her.
Well, we had planned, I'd let the girls in on this secret. Your 3 girls were in on this secret, and we'd gone to the local pub for lunch. And I think I was giving you a flying lesson or something for your birthday. And anyway, I had the car. You've all gathered now. Yes, it was me that I gave her the car. Anyway, I had the car company deliver the car into the car park, and it had a huge bow on the top of the car, right? And we come out, we've had lunch. Now Kay thinks we're all going to a flying lesson, which we were. And we come out of the car park, and Kay, I hadn't told the girls what I was doing. I just said we were going for a flying lesson. None of you had any idea that you were getting the car.
No.
And we sort of come walking to the car park towards my car. And I don't remember which of you said, oh, look, somebody's so lucky. They're going to be getting a car as a present, because there was this enormous big bow on. And I said, yeah, I wonder who that could be. And we all sort of stand and look at the car for a moment. And then I handed you the keys and said, oh, there you go. It must be you. But I'd forgotten that. Totally forgotten that I'd bought your car.
Did you?
I must have had more money than sense. No, I didn't. I would never retract that gift. And I'm really, really, and you had years worth of enjoyment out of it, didn't you?
I certainly did. Got me out of a lot of hot spots.
For me, I've had so many fantastic things that have been given to me by friends. It would be impossible for me to pick one off the top of my head, but I will think about it. Kelsey, have you got anything to say, or is that the same?
I was so busy listening to that story. No, I haven't. I can't think of. It's ridiculous, because I know there are things that people have done, but but it's just being there a lot of the time. It's just that when you need somebody, sometimes them just being there, and it can be nothing material. It's often those things that mean the most sometimes.
Yeah. All right, let's come to this. I'm just going to give you an example of this, because I think it's really important when we're talking about friendships and we're talking about relationships, and you know, and if you two girls can make a comment, or you've got a suggestion or anything at all once I've finished with this story, and then we'll go back to the chat room again. How is it that some people can retain friendships? Obviously by buying people cars and things.
Of course, that's the reason.
Anyway, I see this all the time, right? You have a couple, and whether it's a couple who are married, or whether it's friends, or whether it's relationships in a family, whatever it is. And I have this all the time where people come and they'll, you know, they'll be, let's say it's a couple who are involved in a breakup, or the wife is wondering, she's had enough with her husband. When in 2 years' time she's leaving him. When the kids grow up and go and all the rest of it, she's leaving him because she's had enough of him. Just that example. Now it happens on both sides, both men and women. It happens in every relationship. You get tired of a relationship, or you get annoyed with someone, or whatever. And very often, and I think it's true to say that women are more willing to try something new or to try to change than men are, but there are men who also try to change. But I'll often say to women, and you know, you can make comments, you can call me a feminist or whatever, but I always feel that men are less inclined to change, not because they don't want to, but because they don't know how to. And I think women are more able to figure these things out. But the amount of times that I've said, and particularly I'm thinking of one woman who was determined, you know, she'd been with her husband for 30 years, and they were unhappy, and she was going to wait till the kids left home in 2 years' time, and then she was leaving, and she wanted to know what to do, and so on and so forth. In the meantime, her lifestyle was fantastic. Her husband was a great husband in many ways. It just wasn't, the excitement had gone from marriage or whatever that was, what was going on. And she thought that, like most people do, you know, the grass is much greener on the other side of the fence. Once I've got rid of that, you know, him or her or whatever, the grass is green. But we all know that the grass is not always greener in any regard whatsoever. And I'll often say to someone, you know, instead of seeing this as what he does, an irritation, think of it as something that is fun about him. Think of it as it's just a little foible. He's not perfect. You've got to stop looking at him and criticizing him or her, whichever. Think differently. Approach the things that you don't like about him. If he's boring, if he sits and watches TV all night, okay, that's a valid point. But what do you do to change that? Do you make it more exciting? Do you make it more interesting? Do you go switch the TV off and say, why don't we have a game of cards? Or why don't we play this or this? Whenever you are letting somebody else behave in a way that is not compatible with you, don't complain. Try to change it. If you can't change it, okay, you either accept it or you move on. But so many people they're not willing to change the way they think about a thing. Well, what do you do about it? I'll often say to somebody when they're complaining, you know, well, he's so boring, and he likes gardening, or he's, you know, and I don't like it. And I'll say, what do you do about it? What do you do to change? What can you do to change the dynamic of a relationship that makes it work rather than destroys it? And that having that mindset of wanting to change, wanting to look at things from a different perspective, different angle, using kindness and gentleness, as we all know we should, can really change a dynamic and make things work so much better. Chris, I'd like your opinion on it as well. You know the reason why, I think. But very briefly, girls, what do you think to that? We've all seen it where somebody gets so set in, oh, he never does this and he never does that, and he's always this and he's always that. We're, you know, people are so willing to look at the negative instead of saying, hang on a minute, what can I do to change it?
I think when you're observing that happening, it's very easy to see it. Like when you're on your own and you're in a crowd and you're watching other people and you see all this negativity around somebody and you see the frustrations and you just want to go and say, you know, just don't concentrate on all that stuff. Bring something else into the mix. But when I look back and when I was younger, we would get hooked into the negativity and it would become a pattern which we didn't know how to break.
Yes.
And
exactly.
That's what we're saying, isn't it? It's patterns that you need help with to break. And
it's often the woman who is, not always by any means, but it is often the woman who's brave enough to say, okay,
yes, this needs to change. Yes.
Try. Even if you try.
Yes.
Okay, what do you think?
I think sometimes if there are things that you don't like that they are, just think, what can I do? You don't necessarily have to be changing them. You can just change, well, he likes to be in the garden a lot of the time. What can I do as a hobby?
Right.
As well. So you could
exactly.
fill your time. I mean, there are some things where you can't overlook and make allowances.
Right. Exactly.
You know, but then that probably is the beginning of the end of some things.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think that if people are always thinking he always does this, he always does that, but in any relationship, it is such common sense to me. If you change your attitude, you change your way of looking at things, you make the changes within you, then often good changes and positive changes occur with that other person who starts
in response very often.
Where did she go? I'm gardening. She's normally sitting in front of the TV. You don't have to do that. Or go shopping or do something or go dancing or something. You know, you've got to change yourself, I think.
I think people all change at different levels and different times, don't they? And that's the trick of it, being able to gel with each other.
But we get so steeped in the he's done this and she's done that, and instead of changing, hang on a minute, instead of thinking, what can I do to change this? I've got to change myself in some way. So how do I need to change in order to get a better response from the relationship, or a better, you know, a better grip on things, a better handle on things? Chris, very briefly, let's have your comment on that, and then let's go back to the chat room.
Well, I think of two of your major lessons. One is the termite, so termite mentality, and how basically you're sitting around the water cooler, and as soon as one person says that negative, somebody agrees and then tries to trump it with their negative story, and then it just becomes this big negative fest. And then I think about your exercise of the bottom brick, that they just haven't realized perhaps the crux, the start of that moment, why they are now the way that they are.
Where did that first little drop of poison come from?
Yes.
Where did that first little drop of negativity come from? And the exercise of the bottom brick, if some of you listening haven't seen it, by all means go to the website rosemaryaltea.com and you'll see examples of the bottom brick. It's a fabulous exercise. So thank you for that, Chris. Let's go to the chat room again, shall we?
Yes, Rhonda says, wow, Rosemary, were you in my house this week? I feel like you're talking directly to me. I was so angry at my husband this week because he's so stubborn.
Oh, yeah? Oh, really? Well, now you know what to do, Rhonda. And keep going, Chris.
Let me see. I'm going to have to back up just a tad. Judith said, I noticed Rosemary's demeanor on those TV shows, so the ones we mentioned earlier about Oprah and Lisa Gibbons, etc. And especially with James Randi.
Oh
Okay.
boy, that man.
Well, hey. Keep going, Chris.
Well, Rosemary, I think we're at 6 o'clock. We're right at time. I don't have a whole lot to add.
Gosh,
And
is it long?
Annika says, I have a bunch of lovely people at work who I can talk to and be supported by, but I don't feel the need to hang out with them apart from work. I'm quite happy with being on my own.
That sounds good.
That sounds great.
Right. All right. So I think then we shall, as we're at time. Did that go fast?
It did.
Yeah.
Really fast, right? And as usual, you were both fantastic. And Chris, as usual, you did a brilliant job. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's listening, and we shall be cracking up in another 4 to 6 weeks, whenever we can get together with it. You haven't seen the last of us. So when we do the next cracking up, or even before then, if you've got any ideas or suggestions or any topics that you would like to hear us, the three old ladies, the three good friends, really good, close friends, if you'd like to if you have any ideas of what you'd like to ask us, what you want to know about us, 40 years is a long time to span. 34 years is a long time to span. It's an awfully long time to span. We've got secrets, we've got intriguing, funny stories, all sorts of stuff going on. So if you want to know more about us, the three old ladies, the three British ladies, should I say, the three, how can we put that? Oh dear, what can the matter be? Three old ladies locked in the lavatory. There from
Monday to Saturday.
Sunday to Saturday, nobody knew they were there. But we're here. So we're the three old ladies. We're not locked in the lavatory. Those people don't even know what a lavatory is. Anyway, a toilet, in other words. So here we are with our British sense of humour. If you want to know more about it, questions for us, please email Chris, KRIS, @rosemaryaltea.com, or just go to the website and you'll see what we're up about, what we're all about, and then you can make comments and ask questions and so on. And if you've got a topic you'd like to for us to talk about, we will definitely consider it. Until we see you again, I'd like to say thank you to KW for just, you're brilliant. Thank you to Chaotic. You are just brilliant. You are my beautiful, fabulous, wonderful friends. And we shall be back, right, girls? We shall be back.
Yes,
we'll be back. We'll be back, as Arnold says. We'll be back in a few weeks to do this all over again. So thank you all very much for watching. I say thank you especially, of course, to Grey Eagle, who is always, as always, by my side. And thank you to you two girls for keeping this friendship. Really,
thank you too.
Well, thank you, honey.
You're very welcome. See ya. Bye.
Bye.